2 years ago, Eleanor Watker woke up after a bout with viral encephalitis and thought she was in the year 1966. She didn't recognize her husband, and she thought her baby children were her brother and her sister. After a serious car crash in South Jersey, 24-year-old Denny Todd slipped into a coma. 2 weeks later, she awoke thinking she was 22. And Beverly Slater of Cherry Hill lost her memory more than 8 years ago. And at her worst, she didn't know her family and she didn't know herself. All three of these women are going through the long, tedious process of rebuilding their lives. Their compelling stories today on People Are Talking.
It's People Are Talking with Jerry Penacoli.
Thank you very much and good morning. Welcome to People Are Talking. How would you feel if you suddenly awoke and you didn't know where you were, how you got there, or where you had been? On top of all that, there's a man standing over you, over your bed, claiming to be your husband, but you don't recognize him. In fact, you don't even remember being married. Well, these are just some of the problems facing the millions, and I mean that, millions who experience some form of memory loss. Our first guest today is Eleanor Watker, a New Jersey woman who first lost her memory 2 years ago. Now, Eleanor, if I ask you this question, answer it as honestly as you can. How old are you?
I have to think a moment. 37.
Okay. Do you remember when the accident happened?
No, I don't.
Okay. Now, Eleanor's story is interesting in that she thought she had the flu. She then thought, and the doctors thought, that she had an inner ear infection. But then finally, the doctors realized that she had viral encephalitis. And as a result of that, you had slipped into unconsciousness.
Yes.
Now, what was the first thing you remember when you woke up out of that state of unconsciousness?
Well, the first thing I remember, I was at home. And it was...
You knew it was your home?
Well, no, I'm saying now that that's where I was. I was a little confused initially when I first woke up that particular day, that my first recollection is. And it was a year and a half later when my memory first resumed that I have memory of now. And I was in the bedroom of my home on that particular day, and I heard voices coming from the downstairs kitchen area, and I was sort of wondering who it was who was there, why there was someone else in the house. And I got up out of bed, went downstairs, and there were two people standing in my kitchen. And one person I recognized, it was my mother, and the other person was a total stranger to me. And they began filling me in. The stranger in my kitchen was the registered nurse who was assigned to my case. And they told me that I had amnesia.
When you were first told that you had amnesia, did you know what amnesia was?
Yes, I did know what amnesia was, but I didn't know why I had it or what had happened to me. I needed to be filled in.
Now, you weren't in the hospital for months and months, were you? Do you remember anything about your hospital visit?
No, I have no recollection of that whatsoever.
Nothing at all?
No.
Now, from what people have told you, how long were you in the hospital?
I believe it was about a month that I had been in the hospital.
Okay. When you first, you recognized your mother.
Yes, I did.
But you didn't recognize the man that you had married.
Well, I knew who he was by name, but just as you would a casual acquaintance. I had no idea that he was my husband, or that we had been married for almost 15 years.
How much of your memory then had just completely vanished?
About 20 years worth.
20 years?
Yes.
And in those 20 years you had a couple of kids? I mean, you had gone through, my God, 20 years of a wonderful life, 15
Yes.
of those married. Did you recognize your children?
No, initially I thought that they were my brother and sister.
You thought that they were your brother and sister?
Yes.
So your memory had then regressed to a younger
Yes, to a much
stage.
earlier time.
Tell me about that. What was that like?
Well, it was quite frightening as I began to realize what had happened to me, that all of this time was just gone. And even more so when I realized that this was still going on, that I hadn't awakened at a point where I had regained my memory, that I only had bits and pieces of it, and that I really wasn't going to be able to have total memory again, that I was always going to be in this type of limbo.
What a scary feeling.
It is.
So you don't remember giving birth. You have two children.
Yes, I do.
And how old are they now?
My daughter is 9 years old, and my son is 6.
And you don't remember giving birth to those children?
No, I don't.
That's probably one of the most beautiful times of anyone's life, and to have that totally gone.
Yes, it is gone. I only have what other people are telling me about it, but no personal recollection whatsoever.
Do your children understand what has happened to you?
Well, they understand that I have sustained a memory loss, and actually they're very good about it. They'll constantly say, "Oh, Mommy, do you remember this?" Or, "I'll get that for you, Mommy, you don't remember where it is." So they've actually reacted very well to it. I guess my husband and other members of the family have done a very good job of explaining the situation to them.
How does your husband handle this? How did he first handle this? It must have been a trauma for him as well. I mean, God only knows it was for you, but for him as well.
Well, of course, I don't really know how he first handled it because I wasn't really there to be aware of his reactions to it. And
you weren't there mentally, you mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And he's been absolutely fantastic through everything. All of the things that he's done for me and the arrangements he's made, all of the studying he's done up on the topic, and of all of the things that are available for me now to try to make use of. He's just been absolutely marvelous about everything. Very supportive person.
Eleanor, when you go through pictures, I'm sure you have scrapbooks and things. When you go through those pictures of events, important events that happened to you in your life, nothing is triggered off in your mind? You don't remember anything at all?
Well, sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. Memories that are further back in time are more familiar to me. Really, things that have occurred over the past 20 years are just like something brand new. That I'll look at pictures and say, well, what was this? Or who is this? When did this happen? Where did it happen?
And here you lived with a man, your husband, for 15 years, and then all of a sudden you were living with a total stranger. How did you manage to do that?
Well, here again, I just have recollections that have been told to me, you know, of how I adjusted to it. It seems that I took it pretty well when the explanations were given to me, that I accepted the explanations of who he was. And again, he was such a supportive and kind person, it was very easy to warm up to him again.
All right. We have more cases of amnesia here this morning on People Are Talking, and when we come back, you will meet them, so stay right where you are.